All right. I laughed so hard that I hurt my back the last time.
I popped a disc.
Actually, it's not a funny situation if you do have back pain. I'm been pain-free for a couple of years, but boy, when it hit, it hit. Dr. Matt is here with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about back pain. Common causes or what?
Well, the two most common causes of lower back pain are a muscle strain or a herniated disc. And a muscle strain is just what it sounds like. You're at work, you lift something heavy, you feel that twinge. The good news is that will usually resolve on its own. Just rest, ice, anti-inflammatories. But the number one cause of chronic low back pain is a herniated disc. And this is that persistent pain. There may never be a specific incident that starts it off, but it's the pain that can come and go. And if you have it, it's just something that can really change the quality of your life.
Well, what physically happens when you have a herniated disc?
Well, if we look at the spine here, you can see we all know the image of the spinal column, the vertebra. That's the bony part. 24 of those make it up. It's the space in between we're talking about. And if you can imagine it, the disc is like a jelly donut, and it acts as a shock absorber for the spine, and it's what allows it to move. So this is my crude model here. You can kind of see anytime your spine's moving, you're placing stress on the disc. And what happens is over time, repetitive motion, or even just sometimes with aging, the outside of the disc will wear out, the inside bulges out, and it can compress a nerve. And that's when you start getting the symptoms.
Show hands, guys. Who's suffered through back pain?
Absolutely.
Yeah? No. You haven't?
No.
Yours is from what?
No, and that's what I was going to ask you, Dr. Iseman, is, I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny, he's obviously way better looking in the six-pack area than I am. No, for real. So
Underwear model usually is, Roger.
But he's never had back pain. I've always been husky and had a little panza, a little belly here.
Well, that is one of the
help?
risk factors, is having too much weight. Because again, the spinal column is what supports your entire body. So if you imagine every pound you put on it is putting more stress on those discs. Over time, that adds up. So losing weight is a great way to prevent this problem. And also, if you have it, it's a great way to prevent recurrences.
Well, how do we, our core, then, right, how do you build muscle? Should you build muscle?
Exercising is a fantastic thing. You can build up the abdominal muscles, but you also want to build up the back. So if you think about touching your toes, you want to do the opposite and actually lean back, do back extensions. If you do yoga, upward dog pose is an excellent way to start building up those back muscles.
Right.
The other thing is, which is counterintuitive, rest is not great for it.
Why?
A lot of people spend time in bed, and what happens is your muscles weaken. And when the muscles are weaker, you put more strain on the spinal column, more strain on the disc. Wow. So when you think you're resting, trying to get better, it actually may not be helping you.
Well, is walking or running, I suppose running is not a good idea.
Well, that's high impact. But again, walking's good because you're going to be losing weight and getting active. Now, here's something that's a little obvious when people say, what can I do to prevent these occurrences of the pain with the herniated disc? And the answer is, don't do what causes it. And I know that sounds like, Doc, my arm's hurting, what do I do? Well, don't do that.
Yeah.
But you'll find that sometimes you'll have particular instances, maybe racing in the car,
right, of course.
or if you find lifting your child sometimes, if you find these things are causing it, really the simplest thing is to avoid those motions. Learn the mechanics that worsen your pain.
I will say one of the things that I learned, I was really surprised. I would have back pain and I'd sit down. I'd be like, oh, I just have to get to sit. And actually, there's more weight because when you sit, you're directly on your spine, right?
And you're also releasing the other muscles. You start relaxing them, and then you're not supporting your spinal column.
Right. So standing is probably the best, even though you kind of go, were we meant to be in an upright position? I mean,
and it's how you stand, too. If you're standing, think about lifting up your core, standing straight. And even when you're standing, just kind of flexing the muscles, leaning on the back, you can do things to improve your condition and help deal with the back.
It seems to me what you're saying is you've got to just keep moving. You could sit, but then you have to get up, then you have to walk, then you have to lie down, but it's just keep moving.
When you stop moving, bad things happen.
Right.
Shoes, too, wearing the right shoes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. When we look at posture, a lot of people have had problems with the wrong footwear. And again, what you do is, for guys, I know those curved shoes were really popular, and we ended up seeing a lot of problems from them.
Better now, right?
Well, what happened is it changed your entire gait. So the mechanics were different. Your body had been trained for your entire life how to walk and use those muscles. All of a sudden, you're using a different set of muscles that weren't as strong. We saw a lot of problems.
We did a segment on this about having chronic injuries a while ago. We talked about this, and I have no ACL in this knee from football. And I learned that I would be favoring that, and that shifted my hope back, and everything sort of got out of line. And you just see how your body begins to change and adapt. I think that reflects back to what you were just saying.
And that's why it's important to deal with it. Don't just suffer through the pain. And there are, if you don't respond with just the exercise and the rest, the good news is 90% of people won't need surgery.
Right.
You can use, they have neurologic pain medications, ones that specifically target pain caused by compressed nerves. You can use muscle relaxants or cortisone, an anti-inflammatory.
Outside of that, what about, you mentioned yoga, what about chiropractic services and things like that? Where do you fall on those?
Well, I've used those with rheumatoid arthritis. There aren't a lot of studies on those.
Right.
So, in that case, it's what works for you. And the good news is for people, in The Princess Bride, they said life is pain.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. But the good news is, even for people with back pain, there are a lot of new treatments on the horizon, promising things that might not involve surgery. So if you have back pain, be strong. There's hope on the horizon.
Oh, should we try to avoid surgery?
Well, again, that's up to your doctor. If you're not responding to the other things, that back pain can be so debilitating. Surgery can be a great way to get some relief.
Well, since you and I become best friends on the show and you're my doctor now, do I need surgery? Dr. Iseman.
Maybe just on the face area to look more like Antonio. But other than that,
We're going to step away after that. Go to mattiseman.com and he'll write you a script. I don't know. He
or
won't.
just quote the
A prescription
That's all I'm
for
good for anymore.
love. The Love Doctor.
We're coming back. Shirley is up next.
Yes, and Christmas is right around the corner. It's time to learn how to prepare your Christmas cactus to bloom.